It was one of those gray November afternoons when the city felt tired. The kind of day when even the wind seemed to sigh. The cafe on Maple Street was nearly empty, just the hum of the espresso machine and the low chatter of rain tapping the windows. Emma sat by the corner window, her laptop open but untouched. She was 28, a freelance designer, and lately the world had felt a little too heavy for her small shoulders. Her rent had gone up again. A client had ghosted her on a big payment, and her father, her one anchor in life, had passed away only 6 months ago. She sipped her coffee, now cold, and stared at the blur of passing umbrellas. Somewhere deep down, she wished for something, anything, that could make the world feel kind again. That's when she noticed him. The old man sitting 2 tables away. His coat was tattered, a faded brown thing with missing buttons. His white beard was uneven. His hands trembled slightly as he stirred a cup of tea that looked too weak to be called tea at all. He had kind eyes, though. Pale blue, gentle, like he had seen too much but still believed in good. When he reached into his pocket to count coins for his bill, Emma saw the faintest flicker of embarrassment cross his face. There weren't enough coins. He stared at them, motionless, then looked around as if deciding whether to quietly slip out. Before he could, Emma stood up. "Excuse me," she said softly, walking over. "I think you dropped this." She placed a $5 bill on the table before he could protest. His eyebrows rose. "Oh, no, dear. That's not—" "Please," she interrupted with a smile that trembled slightly. "I insist. It's just coffee." The man looked at her for a long moment, his eyes searching hers as if trying to read the true intention behind her gesture. Then something softened in his face. "Thank you," he whispered. "People don't often stop anymore." "It's nothing," Emma replied, but somehow it didn't feel like nothing. As she turned to leave, he said, "You remind me of my daughter." Emma paused. "Oh, where is she?" He smiled, though his eyes clouded. "Somewhere kind, I hope." When Emma went back to her table, she realized she'd left her phone charger plugged in near the man's seat. By the time she turned back, he was gone, but in his place, tucked under her charger, was a folded napkin. She opened it, expecting maybe a thank you note. Instead, there were just 5 words. "Kindness is never forgotten." Beneath it was a small, intricate sketch of a tree with deep roots and blooming branches, drawn with surprising grace for such a trembling hand. She smiled faintly, tucked the napkin into her notebook, and thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. That night, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the man. Something about his presence lingered, like the echo of a melody she couldn't quite name. On impulse, she snapped a photo of the napkin and posted it on her social media with the caption, "I bought coffee for an old man today. He left this behind." Maybe kindness really does come full circle. She didn't expect much. Her post rarely got more than a handful of likes, but by morning her phone was buzzing nonstop. The post had gone viral. Hundreds, then thousands of people were sharing it, commenting about how the world needed more stories like this. Some even claimed to have seen the same old man, describing encounters eerily similar to hers. They called him the kindness stranger. A few said he'd left them sketches too. Others said he simply smiled, said something profound, and vanished. Soon, news outlets picked it up. Emma found herself interviewed by local radio, then national media. Her story became a symbol of hope, proof that kindness could still ripple through the cracks of a weary world. Messages poured into her inbox. People shared their own small acts of kindness. Meals bought, doors held open, strangers comforted on dark days. One woman wrote, "I lost my husband last year. Someone left a sketch of 2 hands holding a heart on my windshield last week. I think it was him, your old man." Another wrote, "My teenage son found a drawing of a bird with the same handwriting. It said, 'Fly anyway.' He was about to drop out of school. He didn't. The world, it seemed, had been waiting for permission to be kind again, and Emma's post had given it that. But for Emma, the story didn't feel finished. Something about that man, his eyes, his note, the way he said, 'Kindness is never forgotten,' tugged at her heart. So she began searching. She visited shelters, hospitals, senior centers, even sketch clubs. No one knew him. Some had heard stories, yes, about an old man who carried a tattered notebook and drew trees, birds, and stars. But no one could tell her who he really was. Weeks passed. The online buzz began to fade, replaced by the next viral story, but Emma couldn't let it go. Then one cold evening, she got a letter. The envelope was cream-colored, edges frayed, addressed to her in careful handwriting. There was no return address. Inside was a short note and a sketch. The same tree, now with falling leaves. Dear Emma, I'm glad you found my little note. I didn't mean for it to become all this, but perhaps the world needed it. You see, years ago, I wasn't the kindest man. I had a daughter about your age. I let pride and anger drive her away. I haven't seen her in decades. So I've spent my days trying to leave behind little pieces of kindness, sketches that might find her one day. Thank you for reminding me that small acts still matter. A friend. Emma's hands trembled as she read. Tears blurred the ink. The next day, she posted the letter online, her caption simple. He found me again. Or maybe I found him. The story exploded again, bigger than before. People all over the world began leaving notes, drawings, and words of kindness in public spaces. Parks, buses, schools, even hospital waiting rooms became canvases for anonymous encouragement. Someone called it the kindness movement. Emma didn't lead it. She just watched it grow, like the tree he'd drawn for her. Months later, while walking home from a charity event inspired by the movement, Emma noticed a familiar figure sitting near a park bench, hunched over, sketching. Her heart raced. She approached slowly. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Are you?" The man looked up, and there he was, older, frailer, but unmistakably the same gentle eyes. "Well," he said with a faint smile, "you found me." Emma felt tears welling up. "I thought you were just gone." He chuckled, his voice soft as rustling leaves. "Not gone. Just wandering." She sat beside him. His hands were shaking as he drew. She saw the same tree, but this time it had two figures beneath it, one older, one younger. "It's beautiful," she whispered. He nodded. "You know, I never thought one small act would change so many lives. But maybe kindness has roots deeper than we know." Emma looked at him, at the lines on his face, the weariness in his smile, and said quietly, "You've changed more lives than you think, especially mine." He handed her the drawing. "Then I can rest easy." She wanted to ask his name, where he lived, how she could help him. But when she turned for a moment to grab her phone, he was gone. Vanished. Only the drawing remained. A year later, the kindness movement had reached over 50 countries. Schools built kindness walls. Companies started pay-it-forward initiatives. Homeless shelters received record donations. And at the heart of it all was the symbol of a tree, the same one from the old man's napkin, now recreated in murals, art pieces, and even jewelry. Emma founded a nonprofit called Roots of Kindness, dedicated to small acts that make big changes. But she kept the original napkin framed above her desk, the one that started it all. One spring morning, as she was organizing a community event, a woman approached her, gray hair, tired eyes, and a small photo clutched in her hand. "Are you Emma?" she asked. "Yes." The woman's voice shook. "I think you met my father." Emma froze. "Your father?" The woman handed her the photo. It was the old man, smiling, younger, standing by the same tree he'd always drawn. "He used to draw that tree all the time," the woman said, tears in her eyes. Said it reminded him of home. "I left when I was 20. We lost touch. I I only found out about him again because of your story. Someone showed me your post. I can't thank you enough." Emma's throat tightened. "I think he'd be very proud of you." The woman nodded, eyes glistening. "He passed away a few weeks ago, but he died peacefully. Said he was ready because he'd finally seen kindness bloom again." She handed Emma a folded piece of paper. "He wanted you to have this." Emma opened it carefully. It was another sketch. The same tree, now in full bloom, surrounded by hundreds of smaller saplings. At the bottom were the words, "Kindness grows when shared." Years passed. The cafe on Maple Street still stood, now with a framed photo of the old man's sketch on its wall and a small plaque that read, "In memory of a stranger who reminded us that one small act can change the world." Every year on November 12th, the day she met him, Emma organized the Day of Kindness, a global event encouraging people to perform at least one kind act. Millions participated. And sometimes late at night, when she sat by her window with a cup of tea, she'd swear she could see him, the old man with the kind eyes, sitting under a tree in the distance, smiling. She would whisper, "Thank you," and imagine him replying with the same words he left her long ago. Kindness is never forgotten. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspirational tales. Because kindness, just like a story, grows stronger when shared.